This is Lavely Miller, which I'm not sure if Lavely is here, but she wanted this piece, even if she was, she wanted it to stand on its own and not necessarily explain it. Again, to have someone who looks like a young woman or even a young girl, which so much depth going on here in her eyes and her expressions. I know Lavely wants it to speak for itself, but I follow her very closely on Instagram since I found this piece. And her technique is amazing. It's just done with hundreds of layers of these glazes that she does basically with her fingers. And so if you can go and look at her work, I definitely recommend it. There's so much story behind these portraits that she does, and it's beautiful work. And she's having a lot of success with this too. Definitely go and check her out because she's fantastic. Okay, Rhonda Urdang, Descent, Lipstick Justice, RGB, collage, found paper, historical photo. There's so much in here. Veils, inks. I know that I saw that you're here. There you are, Rhonda.
Hi, Ellen.
Hi.
Thank you. This is so much fun.
Thank you for submitting. I've seen your work in the past.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you so much. This is great. It's really hot here and I had trouble getting in. My computer was sticking and nothing was working. But anyway, this is a piece I did 6 or 7 years ago. And every Sunday is my big day because I live out in Flagstaff and I love to read the New York Times every Sunday. So that was my big thing. And I think I was reading the arts and entertainment section, and I saw that RGB had attended a Broadway play. And she was cocky back then, and she said, "I'm a flaming feminist." So I decided to pay homage to her in kind of a fun way with the crown on her head, and I had this black veil laying around my studio. So that's there. And she got some emerald green earrings. It's a complementary color scheme. You can see the orange, the green, and the purple. And then I had fun with collars and an old cameo and a hand fan, and of course the crochet gloves and the shoes and the porcelain dolls. And I recently purchased this Lady Justice from a friend here in town who does assemblages. So I think I took a picture of that, and it's just a collage. I was just having fun. And it was inspired after an old painting, I don't know, probably from the 16th century of Queen Anne of Austria. So it was just something fun that I did. And then, of course, after RBG died, and more recently, all of our reproductive rights are being taken away, it has more meaning, and it still speaks to me and probably a lot of people today. So thank you for being able to select it for your show. I'm really honored.
Oh, no, thank you for submitting it. And I know that you focus a lot on collage portraits of different people too.
I do, and I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because I'm an artist and I spend a lot of time alone. So I make imaginary friends.
Okay.
That probably goes back to my childhood from growing up on a farm in rural Nebraska. I was the only child in my one-room school from kindergarten to 8th grade. These things stick with you.
Wow, that is a very different existence than what I am used to growing up right outside of New York City.
Yeah,
That's
so
pretty wild.
perhaps that explains my independence and my rebellion and all of that.
Yes.
So I guess
Now
I
you
was
live in
destined.
Flagstaff, you said. And Flagstaff, I've driven by, I've driven through Flagstaff, not a heavy, not very populated area.
Yeah, well, we have a
Yeah.
university here, and I'm married to a university professor. We're very rebellious here.
I love the piece. I think
Thank you.
it's
Thank you.
strong and it's playful and it's just, yeah, it's very nice to look at. I really liked it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have Elizabeth Bonner, who I don't see is here. Okay, cool. So this piece, it's called Black Body Radiation, and it's 18 inches by 8 inches by 6 inches. So it's a substantial piece. This to me was interesting because obviously having the figurative aspect, and yet having these elements on there that, in some ways, to me, with the title, having it be radiation, it spoke in a lot of different ways. It was everything from these circular targets being something that was put on it, and yet also in a way something that radiated out from it. And I love the texture of it. And I just thought it was a really interesting piece with a lot of different elements going on to it. Just something different, something that spoke in a different way. Let's see. I don't know if it's Thabiana or Thabiana Jeanty, and it's Silent Courage, the double life of Cathay Williams. And I don't think she is here.
I'm here.
Oh, you are here. Where are you? I don't see you,
Right
but
here.
great. Oh, there you are. Fantastic.
Hi.
Fantastic. I loved this piece. I love this
Thank
piece.
you so much.
When I first saw it, it immediately brought out like that Frida Kahlo double identity kind of thing that I am always attracted to. And I had never heard of this. I've heard of similar stories, obviously, but not this person. So I would love to hear, and I'd love for you to share a little bit about this person, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. So I have my phone here just in case, because yeah, I actually did this piece for a client. She was doing a play. I think it's like a couple years ago. Yeah, she was doing a play, and she actually brought it up to me. She said she'd seen my work before, and she wanted to know if I had the ability to bring this to life. And she basically told me about her, and I was like, whoa, I've done Black history tons of times for school, and I've never heard about this woman. And so I went and did some more research that I'd be able to do the dual portrait for her. And she explained very simple terms. I want something that shows her in her femininity and then just what she looks like in her masculine, having to be in the Buffalo Army and what that would look like for this play. And after doing some research, I just thought it was so beautiful. So her name is Cathay Williams, but she entered the Buffalo Army. Oh, she entered the American Army as a Buffalo soldier, and she went by the name William Cathay. Just a little switch around. I guess no one was going to pay attention, and she was just an army cook for a while. She held her own for the most part. It wasn't until she started getting sick. She caught smallpox, and she had back to back medical issues that one day one of the surgeons figured out that she was a woman, and basically she had to be discharged. And unfortunately, as great as just a soldier she was in the army, when the time came for them to honor her because she was a woman, she couldn't get the honor. So she lost two toes that had to be amputated due to, I think it was diabetes. And then she had to deal with like rheumatoid arthritis. And she basically thought that she'd be able to get disability from the army. And the army was, no, you posed as a woman, you posed as a man. So we're not letting you get access to those funds. And unfortunately, because she couldn't get the medical help that she needed, she ended up dying. For me, I love this piece so much, and that's why I entered it in when I found the call. I thought this was a perfect representation of women redefining our representation. I think her story is so cool. I appreciate everything she represents. That was back in like 1866, and it's like way back then, women were still fighting to break barriers and basically tell people like we can do it too. We have the ability to make our own way. She could have been at home trying to be a nurse or trying to be a homemaker, and she was all like, I can fight as well. And she found her own way to fight. She found her own way to stand on her own 2 feet. And even after, she got discharged, she was still trying to get something. And I appreciate it so much. I think this representation is so important. I work at a school right now, and I hope to be able to actually gift this to my old history teacher so that when he's teaching Black history and stuff, he can bring this up because I just think her story is so beautiful. I want more people to know about her.
And so how is her story becoming more well known, or have you found that other people have heard of her before? I'm just curious, when you show them this piece or you bring this up.
I actually have not. Every time I bring this up, people do not know who she is, but it's always appreciated. It's almost as if I'm shedding light on her story.
Mhm.
And it's like her story exists on the internet because I went and looked, like it's there, but for some reason she's just not like on a major stage where she should be. And so I appreciate any time that I get to do something like this and show this piece. I think I put it in a Black History showing last year, and it was the same thing. Talked to a bunch of people, didn't know who she was, and I explained to them her history and showed them where they could find the information. And they were just telling me that it was so cool and that they appreciate me just putting her story basically in art and being able to just explain what she represents. And I just hope to keep doing that. For me as an artist, I that's my thing. I want to be able to tell as many women's stories as possible, especially women of color. When I grew up, I just didn't think I saw enough of myself in art, and I didn't think I saw enough of myself telling of just different facets of Black women as a whole. And so I just one day decided that I would become the change I want to see. And I hope that when I'm creating and I'm making these pieces, it's not just history. These are things that people can feel a connection to. I feel like as long as when you look at the piece, it speaks to you in whatever way it speaks to you, whether it makes you uncomfortable or it makes you happy or it makes you sad, the fact that I touched you in any way is like a very big deal to me. And I feel like this piece does that for a lot of people. So I'm just really grateful.
No, you're definitely touching people. When I get introduced to something new, and this was completely new to me, one thing that I always talk about this with people. It's one of the most irritating things to me and one of the most exciting things to me when I hear about something that I didn't know about. There's nothing that frustrates me more than not knowing that I don't know about something. I could not have found it on my own. I didn't know to look for it. And yet at the same time, when something new is brought to me, I think, oh, thank God, there are still these amazing things. So it's like this duality that I have of that kind of experience. But I think
Yeah.
this is also important because the chances that this is the only woman in Black history who has ever done this are small. There's got to be more, right? If she did it,
Right.
there's got to be more. And so there has to be more stories. And so this will inspire people, I think, to also start looking for those stories. And not just even in Black history, but in women's history or anyone that's been oppressed or kept from doing what their passion was based on some ridiculous bias of somebody else. And so I think that's why this piece is very important too. It introduces curiosity, right? It makes you want to look for more of these stories and more of these events to learn about these people. So I think this piece is fantastic. I loved it. I stared at it for so long. I stared at it for so long when I was jurying all of this, and it's just a stunning piece. It's really
Thank you
in
so
its simplicity and its duality. It's just such a, again, for me, narrative and story. I love story. And there's something here that you want to dig into immediately and say, what's going on? I think it is an important piece. I think you should do more of these for sure.
Thank
It's
you.
fantastic. Yeah. And thank you for sharing it because I didn't know about it. I didn't know that I didn't know about this person. So it's great. It's a great piece. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Let's see. Next piece, Lucretia Torva. I'm probably butchering that name. And I don't see her here. This is called Tender Spot. It's an acrylic on panel. It's a very large piece. It's 80 inches by 36 inches. And what I liked about this, not only that it's obviously done very skillfully and it has all this vibrant, beautiful kind of ethnic color going on, is just the absurdity of it. It's powerful, but it's also very funny to me. I think that lessons, when you can teach a person a lesson and make them laugh and then feel a little bit uncomfortable about laughing at it too at the same time, is interesting. And so I just love this as a visual. It just seems so, it makes her feel so powerful and dominant in a way, but also very playful and witty. And so I loved looking at it. I just thought it was a really great piece. So I was happy to see that one. It was fantastic. Let's see. Lynn Brofsky, Wendover Homestead. And this is a monotype. I don't think Lynn is here, but again, a beautiful piece. And I did actually look into this a little bit, and this is actually a story about a very specific town, and Wendover, I believe, and the history that's going on there. And there's a lot of elements of story in here that can be looked into if you look into the history of this title that talk about what's happening here. And again, I love that it's beautifully done. You have photography, you have some gold leaf, you have some drawing. I love when people put different elements and different mediums together too. So it's really beautiful. Let's see. Debra Disman. I know I saw your name here somewhere.
Hi.
Hello. And this is called Into the Bush, Sculpture, Mixed Media. Please explain, because there's so many ways I could possibly have interpreted this. And I'm just like, I gotta hear. I gotta hear.
I'm wondering, am I the only non-representational piece? I did look through the whole show a couple of times, but I don't remember all of them. So I'm very excited to be here with all these extraordinary. I was trained figuratively when drawing and painting, so it's making me feel that hunger again, seeing all these amazing works that are resounding on so many levels. I also want to say that I'm a friend of Laura's, and I was able to come in on her talk the other day, which was really fun. So I enjoyed it. It was fun to have that commonality. This piece, I had been working in the form of the book for a number of years. And I started with certain book forms that were more traditional in terms of the Western Codex. And then I got more and more involved with the thread and the cord. And it's chronicled on my website, but using different ways to animate the surface through stitching and putting different materials in the same color family together. So really working with how that color or hue would shine through the different textures. And then, to be truthful, I was given a gift of a massive amount of just sewing by a friend, and I created a piece. I don't know if I'm able to show anything, Ellen. Am I able to hold something up to the camera?
You could try.
I don't know if anybody
I think when you speak, it does still go to you.
Okay, I don't know if anyone can see this little piece. I'm facing it towards, I see Ellen and I see the image of my work. So it's very weird. But I made this small piece called Burning Bush, where I surfaced the covers inside and out with this thread. So instead of sewing with the thread, I used it to create a texture and a color. And I hadn't been using color very much. So I went into this piece. I was moving not really away from the book, but books and boxes are very related in the book arts world. So this piece that you're looking at is made of 3 pieces of book board. So it creates a box kind of with an open side. And a studio mate of mine had left, and she left all of this thread, massive amount of thread that I just had to use. And I separated it out into all the related colors and began to surface the exterior of this piece with it. And I have the piece here. I was hoping to maybe show the inside because, of course, with 3-dimensional work, and especially with book arts, you can only see in an image usually one view of it. But on the inside are strips of, I don't know if anyone was able to see. I'll try. So here's the piece. And then on the inside, it moves, it opens and closes. So it can be in many different configurations, open, the way you see it there, or closed. There's that idea of the female and what's shown and what's hidden with anybody, but particularly with women. A lot of our sexuality, however it's flaunted, our actual sexual beings can be very hidden. And so on the inside, I have these strips of canvas that are gradated and reflect the colors on the outside, the brown, the yellow, and red. So in a way, it's inverted because you have what might be seen as the woman's sexuality on the outside of the piece, and then you might have the cloth, which is gradated on the inside. So it's playing, I'm going to put this down. It's playing with a lot of notions of interior and exterior and of women's sexuality and sexual beings and sexual passion, which it is not something that I tend to think about. The incredible artist Thalia, who just did the duality, the portrait of the soldier being woman and then being a soldier, a male soldier. I'm not thinking that consciously about these stories. I'm letting the material take me once I've created the form, and I'm moving very intuitively, but also with a lot of experience of working with similar materials and, over the years. And I found that I just wanted to move into that brilliant red, which associates with love and death and hate and passion, and to me, sexuality. So there's the elements of women showing themselves, but also being hidden at the same time. I think the word bush is self-explanatory. Going into the bush, going on safari, going into the actual physical bush, going on an adventure, going into the unknown, and also bush being an expression of women's sexual areas. Again, it's not something I'm really thinking about or trying to make a statement about consciously. In the way that I'm working now, I'm actually trying to leave my mind and my conscious intention outside and move very intuitively. But I feel like just something being closed, something being open, something being shown, something being hidden. I feel like as women, not just with our sexuality, but with everything, we are still constrained in that way, that the world is very mixed about women putting themselves out there as sexual beings, as passionate beings, as soldiers. I feel in a way that although all the other work has been representational and really made use of the figure, the one artist who's very concerned about their Black family and being safe and how they are able to be in the world, how they are allowed to be in the world, what the dangers might be. I think playing with all those things, but really it's glorying in these materials that I love so much, and I feel that I'm painting in a way with the thread and with these cords and the textiles and fiber. I hope that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. And I'm so glad that you shared the inside of it also of the pieces and the strips you use. And so it's just really elaborate and beautiful. And it's interesting because of when you started talking, you didn't go into the sexual aspect of it right away. And I thought to myself, am I the only person that's seeing how sexual and sensual this is? Am I the only person who's seeing this as like pubic hair and this middle piece is like nipple-esque and something you're not supposed to see, but you're seeing it and you didn't mention in the beginning? And first thing I thought was, oh, I wonder why I went there. It's so luscious and sensual to me when I saw it, aside from it being these gorgeous combinations of color and this very interesting material that you don't see as often as paint, for example. So it's a really beautiful piece. And I love seeing things that are textural or textile-like and that they involve fabrics and threads. It's funny, I just read it today, an article on net.com, and someone was writing about how textile pieces have been around for about 10 years and they're going out of style and they're not. And I thought to myself, that is such bullshit. People love this stuff. I think that is such a mistake and so wrong. I'm thinking, no way. People love this. People love to be able to look at something where you want an urge to touch it, but you shouldn't touch it. And then even this one, you want to smell it and go near it and like search it. And it's just a really elaborate, beautiful piece. Yes, I know there's a lot of figurative pieces here. And of course, when you say defining your representation, you're going to get a lot of that, of course. But this is gorgeous. And this is so well done and so polished. And I am really thrilled that you submitted it. because it is something different, and it's elegant and beautiful. It's a really beautiful piece. So thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. It's
Thank
weird
you.
because I can't see what I'm presenting. I have no idea what people were seeing through the screen.
You did a great job,
Yeah.
and I loved seeing the inside. It was fantastic. And thank you for explaining it. It was just, I love hearing about all the depth of it for sure.
Thank you.
Okay, Stella Arbelaez. I'm sure I could swear.
That's me. That's me. I'm here.
Okay,
Um,
Broken Woman.
Ellen, can I share my screen? I put together some slides showing the process.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I'd love to see the process. Hold on. Let me just
Okay.
see if I think I can do that in the middle of a meeting. Hold on a second.
All right.
If I can
Thanks.
see.
Okay, this is the one. All right. Are you guys seeing my screen
Yes.
with the broken woman in it?
Yep.
Okay. Let me
Yep.
move this.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so a little bit about me. I'm actually entering my third year, my thesis year at UCF for studio arts after 30 years being away. And what prompted me to come here was actually after my divorce, I went into deep depression and just really toxic behaviors, and I became someone I didn't want to be. And in order to get out of the funk, I went on a long hike. I hiked the Florida National Scenic Trail, which is 1,180 miles across the state.
Wow.
And that's when I walked in silence a long time. And that little voice kept saying, you have always wanted to be a fine artist. You've always wanted to be a fine artist. And my undergrad is on commercial illustration, fashion, and fine arts illustration. And so I ended up here. And so The Broken Woman, I'm just going to read my art statement really quick.
Sure.
My work explores the intersections of personal experience, the healing power of nature, and the impact of societal constructs on individuals through my own journey towards self-discovery and transformation. I share my evolution while healing from divorce after having walked 1,180 miles across the state as a thru hiker of the Florida National Scenic Trail. Let me see, how do I get to my next slide? Okay, here we go. The Broken Woman is the result of my search from the beginning of my transformation story, one that shows the destruction, the beauty, and the hope that I still held within me while struggling to adjust to my new life as a divorcee. In conceptualizing this piece, I not only thought about my own ordeal, but also about that which many women experience as they are forced to rebuild their lives after having voluntarily stepped out of the workforce to create and raise a family. A person's altruistic nature, the commodification of the female body, the politics of gender in a capitalist society, addictions, and paralyzing fear are present in this piece. This is the concept sketch. I'm leaning on my memories from working in the fashion industry. I used a secondhand mannequin to signify the swift changes and ease of replacement found in the process of divorce. The underpainting is a vibrant pink, which I relate to my once loud and bright personality, now hidden under many life experiences in the form of layered paint and scratches. And here's the underpainting. Straight lines that cut the surface into visual fragments accentuate the breakage felt within me, while the breakage of the smooth surface shows the results of emotional attacks and turmoil. So at this phase, I had just cut everything very neatly. And I was frustrated with the piece, so frustrated with the piece. I'll tell you more about it in a moment. This little heart I did purchase on Etsy. It was perfect and it's hollowed, so I inserted some lights. And I also use gold a lot. The use of gold found in the work derives from indigenous and devotional work seen during my childhood years in Colombia, the birthplace of stories about lost cities made of gold and offerings by indigenous people to the sun in exchange of health, wisdom, and riches. In time, these offerings were also made to the Spanish colonizers as symbols of friendship and in hopes of peace. Having been raised Catholic, the representation of the Sacred Heart is as depicted in imagery from colonial provided me with the inspiration and comfort, which is right here. The ornamental golden lines spill out of the surface of the upper body as an extension of the rays emitting from the 3D printed heart.
I think you're going in and out a little bit, Stella. There we go.
Okay. A broken bird cage hanging from above the head of the figure It houses a cell phone playing a loop video of static noise. This is a representation of my breaking out of depression and of self-entrapment, such as addiction to social media and destructive behaviors, which affected. We all know what this is about, I hope. It's basically the commodification of the female gender after giving birth and having to settle for alimony after marriage.
Yeah.
The broken woman is a physical reminder of who I am at the core, who I had allowed myself to become, and of the transformation that I experienced after having walked the Florida National Scenic Trail. This is the piece at the Orlando Museum of Art, and you see here the size relation. It's quite tall, actually.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's me.
Thank
I
you.
put a picture there because my video is not working.
It's okay. No, it's a stunning piece, and it is very complex, and there is so much to look. And this is one of the reasons why when I was looking at pieces and trying to figure out what to put in here, there was so much variation, and some of them were so incredibly complex in their narrative, and some were, it was like, this one's so incredibly skilled in this particular medium, and this one has such a strong story, and this one is, there was so much. And for this piece, I just thought, there's a lot going on here. There's a lot to explore, which is really the epitome of being a woman. So I think it's a beautiful piece, and congratulations on your success with it too, that you got it shown in a museum. It's really well done. So thank you so much for submitting it.
Thank you. I'm excited. If anybody's in Orlando next February the 20th, the grad show opens on that day. I'd love to have some people come here and say hi.
Oh, sounds good.
So,
sounds fun.
yeah. Thank you.
Okay,
I'll
thank
stop
you.
sharing now.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. How do I? Okay, here we go.
There we go. Okay.